Nobody noticed the small human girl walking through the corridor. That was exactly how Lily Ward wanted it. She kept her head down, her bag pressed tight against her chest, and moved quickly toward her next class. The walls of Galactic Integration Academy curved around her like the inside of a giant shell. Lights floated overhead without wires. Students of 20 different species walked past her, some on 2 legs, some on 4, some floating in special suits filled with liquid. Lily had been here for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks of being invisible. 3 weeks of trying to fit IT was not working. She heard the laughter before she saw them. Her stomach dropped. She knew that sound. Kira stood near the entrance to the science hall. She was Vellani, tall and beautiful in the way her species always was. Blue skin that seemed to glow. For arms that moved with perfect grace. Eyes like polished silver. And a smile that made Lily want to run. 2 others stood with Kira. Dran was Molthery, his body made of living rock, massive and slow. The other was a Fenari named Pip, small and fox-like with golden fur. But Pip was not really with them. Pip was their other target. Kira spotted Lily, and her smile grew wider. Here we go, Lily thought. She tried to walk past. She really did. A blue hand grabbed her shoulder. Then another grabbed her bag. Then 2 more pushed her against the wall. 4 arms. Very useful for bullying. Where you going, Softskin? Kira asked sweetly. Class, Lily said. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. Class can wait. I have questions. Kira leaned close. Her breath smelled like flowers, which somehow made everything worse. I heard you scored highest on the engineering test. Is that true? Lily said nothing. Interesting. Kira's grip tightened. A primitive ape creature beats Vellani students at engineering. How embarrassing for us. Unless, of course, the teacher made a mistake. He didn't make a mistake. The words came out before Lily could stop them. Stupid. So stupid. Kira's eyes narrowed. Then she laughed, a beautiful, terrible sound. It speaks. The soft skin has opinions. She looked at Dran. Did you hear that? The creature from the death world thinks it belongs here. Dran made a grinding sound that might have been a laugh. Lily felt her face burn. Humans came from Earth, which other species call the death world. The gravity was too strong. The weather was too violent. The animals were too dangerous. Everything on Earth wanted to kill everything else. Somehow, humans had survived it all. But out here in space, surrounded by species that had evolved on gentle worlds, humans were seen as either monsters or jokes. Lily was clearly the joke. Let me go, she said quietly. Please, please. Kira mimicked her voice perfectly. So polite, so weak. This is why humans will never matter in the galaxy. You don't have the spine to fight back. She shoved Lily hard. The human girl stumbled, dropped her bag, and fell to her knees. Her things scattered across the floor. Other students walked past. Nobody stopped. Nobody helped. Instructor Gavros appeared at the end of the hall. He was Telkani, an insect-like species with clicking mandibles and compound eyes. He taught galactic history. He saw everything. He kept walking. Kira laughed again and walked away with Dran. Lily stayed on the floor, gathering her things with shaking hands. That a small golden paw appeared in her vision. Pip, the Fenari, was helping her pick up her scattered supplies. Thank you, Lily whispered. Don't thank me. Pip's voice was barely a whisper. I'm sorry, I can't do more. If I stand up to her, she'll destroy me. I understand. They finished gathering Lily's things in silence. It gets easier, Pip said finally. You learn to become invisible. You learn to not exist. Eventually they get bored and find someone else. Lily nodded, but she did not believe it. Kira was not the type to get bored. Kira enjoyed this too much. That night, Lily sat in her small room and stared at the communication screen. Her parents were working late again. They always worked late. Their jobs on the station were important, they said. Very important. More important than asking how her day was, she thought about calling her grandmother back on Earth. Grandmother Ruth always answered. Grandmother Ruth always listened. But what would Lily say? That she was being bullied? That she was weak and scared and wanted to come home? No, she could not admit that. Not to Grandmother Ruth, who had survived 3 wars, who had commanded soldiers, who had metals that Lily was not allowed to touch. Grandmother Ruth had never been weak in her life. Lily turned off the screen and laid down in the dark. Tomorrow would be the same. And the day after. And the day after that. She would survive. She would endure. She would become invisible. That was the human way, right? To survive. A message notification blinked on her screen. She almost ignored it. Then she saw who it was from. Grandmother Ruth. She opened it with trembling fingers. The message was short. Family observation day is coming up at your school. I'm thinking of visiting. Would that be okay, sweetheart? Lily stared at the words for a long time. Then she typed back, that would be nice, Grandma. She did not know why she said yes. She did not know that her answer would change everything. The bruise on Lily's arm had turned from purple to yellow. She wore long sleeves now. Even when the station's climate made her sweat, 5 weeks had passed since her arrival. 5 weeks of survival. Kira had not gotten bored. If anything, she had gotten worse. IT started small. Missing assignments that Lily knew she had submitted. Food that spilled on her uniform in the cafeteria. Whispers that followed her through every corridor. Then it grew bigger. Lily found her locker broken open, her things thrown across the floor. She found cruel words scratched into her desk in the engineering lab. She found herself cornered in empty hallways where no teachers ever walked. The hitting started in week 4, not hard enough to leave obvious marks. Kira was smart about that. A shove here, a pinch there, a twist of the arm that looked like friendly contact but left Lily gasping in pain. Today was worse. Lily sat in the empty storage room behind the gymnasium, tried to stop her hands from shaking. Her ribs hurt where Dran had pushed her into a wall. Her eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. The door opened. She flinched, but it was only Pip. The small Fenari slipped inside, closing the door quietly. In his paws, he carried a small medical kit. I saw what happened, Pip said softly. Let me help. You shouldn't be here. If Kira finds out you're helping me, I know. Pip's ears flattened. I know, and I'm scared. But I can't just watch anymore. He cleaned the small cut on Lily's forehead where she had hit the wall. His paws were gentle. His eyes were sad. Why does she hate me so much? Lily asked. I never did anything to her. You don't have to do anything. You just have to exist. Pip put away the medical kit. Kira's family is very powerful, very old, very proud. She's been told her whole life that Villani are the greatest species in the galaxy. Then you show up. I am nobody. You're human, deathworlder, and you beat her on the engineering test. You made her look less than perfect. Pip shook his head. In her world, that's unforgivable. Lily leaned back against the wall. Everything hurt. I told Instructor Gavros again, she said. Yesterday, I showed him the messages Kira sent me. The threats. What did he say? He said I was being too sensitive. He said humans need to toughen up if they want to survive in galactic society. Lily laughed bitterly. Toughen up? Like I haven't survived 5 weeks of this. Pip was quiet for a moment. Then he said, what about your parents? They're busy. Important jobs. Important meetings. Lily picked at her sleeve. I told them things were hard. They said to give it time. They said making friends takes effort. And your grandmother? The one who's coming to visit. Lily went still. She had been avoiding Grandmother Ruth's calls, sending short text messages instead, pretending everything was fine. Because how could she tell the strongest woman she knew that her granddaughter was too weak to handle a few bullies? I don't want her to see me like this, Lily admitted. She's coming in 3 days for family observation day. She'll see everything. She'll know I failed. Failed at what? At being strong. At being a human. At being worth something. Pip moved closer. His golden fur brushed against Lily's arm. You haven't failed, he said. You're still here. You're still trying. You're still kind, even after everything they've done to you. That's not weakness, Lily. That's something else. Lily wanted to believe him. She really did. But that night, alone in her room, the darkness felt heavier than usual. She looked at her reflection in the dark screen. She barely recognized herself. Thinner face, dark circles under her eyes. A stranger staring back. Her hands moved without thinking. She pulled out her engineering tools. Started building. She did not know what she was making at first. Her fingers just needed to work. They needed to create instead of destroy. Hours later, she held a small device in her palm. A shock generator. tiny but powerful. Enough to stun a Vellani for several seconds. Enough to fight back. She stared at it for a long time. Then she put it in a drawer and closed it tight. No, that was not who she was. That was not who she wanted to be. Fighting back with violence would only prove them right. It would prove that humans are the monsters everyone said they were. She would not give them that satisfaction. Her screen lit up with a new message. Grandmother Ruth. 3 days, sweetheart. I can't wait to see your school. I can't wait to see you. Lily's eyes filled with tears again. This time, she let them fall. 3 days that in 3 days, the woman she admired most in the universe would see exactly how pathetic her granddaughter had become. She typed back with shaking fingers, "Can't wait to see you too, Grandma." Then she turned off the screen and cried herself to sleep. She did not know that her grandmother was already packing. She did not know that Ruth Ward had noticed every avoided call, every short message, every false smile in the rare video chats. She did not know that a retired military commander could still read a battlefield, even when that battlefield was a teenage girl's silence. Something was very wrong with Lily. And Grandmother Ruth was coming to find out exactly what. Ruth Ward had a gift for becoming invisible. She had used it many times during her years of service. On battlefields, in negotiations, in rooms where powerful beings thought they were alone. Today, she used it to watch. She followed Lily through the academy, always a few steps behind, always blending in with the crowd of visiting families. Just another harmless grandmother. Just another soft human. She saw everything. She saw how the hallway parted around Lily like water around a stone. How students moved away from her. How whispers followed her like shadows. She saw the Vellani girl named Kira standing near the science labs, surrounded by her followers. For silver eyes tracked Lily like a predator watching wounded prey. She saw Instructor Gavros, the insect-like teacher, deliberately look away when Kira blocked Lily's path. Ruth memorized every detail, every face, every name. Later, she found Instructor Gavros alone in his office. "Excuse me," Ruth said sweetly, standing in the doorway. "I hope I'm not disturbing you. I just have a few questions about my granddaughter's progress." Gavros looked up with compound eyes that showed no warmth. His mandibles clicked in annoyance. "You are the human's family member." "Yes, Lily Ward's grandmother." "Come in, then. Be quick." Ruth sat across from him, her hands folded in her lap. She looked small in the chair, fragile, confused. "I'm worried about Lily," she said. "She seems unhappy. I wonder if she's having trouble adjusting to the coursework." Gavros made a sound that might have been laughter. "The coursework is not the issue. Your granddaughter is quite capable for a human. The issue is her attitude. Her attitude. Humans are new to galactic society. You must understand that. Your species has only been in space for a few hundred years. We have been civilized for millennia." His mandibles clicked dismissively. "Lily needs to learn her place. She needs to accept that she will never truly belong here." Ruth's expression didn't change. "I see. And what about her interactions with other students?" She mentioned some difficulties, human sensitivity. Gavros waved a limb. "Your species takes everything so personally. The other students are simply helping her understand galactic social hierarchy. It's a learning experience." "A learning experience," Ruth repeated. "Exactly. If Lily would simply stop being so emotional, she would find that the academy is quite welcoming." He stood, clearly ending the conversation. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual work to do." Ruth stood too. Her smile never wavered. "Thank you so much for your time," she said. "You've been very helpful." She walked out his office, her limp a little more pronounced than usual. Gavros did not see the cold fury in her eyes. Lunchtime. Ruth sat with Lily and Pip at a corner table in the cafeteria. Around them, hundreds of students ate and talked. The noise was overwhelming. Ruth had positioned herself with her back to the wall. Old habits. She watched Kira enter with her group. The cafeteria seemed to shift, students moving aside, conversations dimming. Even here, fear ruled. Kira spotted them. Her silver eyes narrowed. Ruth kept eating calmly. To anyone watching, she was just a frail old woman enjoying a meal with her granddaughter. Kira approached. Dran loomed behind her, his rock body casting shadows over their table. "Look at this," Kira said loudly. Other students turned to watch. The human brought her elder. "How sweet. Is she teaching you how to eat properly? Or maybe how to stop being such an embarrassment to your species?" Lily stared at her plate. Pip shrank back in his seat. Ruth looked up and smiled warmly. "Hello, dear. Would you like to join us? There's plenty of room." Kira blinked. That was not the reaction she expected. "Join you? Why would I join a table of inferior creatures?" She laughed, looking around for approval from the watching crowd. Some students laughed nervously. Others just watched. "That's unkind," Ruth said mildly. "Lily has been working very hard to succeed here. She's quite talented." "Talented?" Kira leaned down, her face close to Ruth's. "Your granddaughter is a joke. All humans are jokes. You come from a garbage planet that try to kill you every day, and you think that makes you special? It just makes you desperate, pathetic, weak." The cafeteria was silent now. Everyone was watching. Kira reached toward Lily. "I think your grandmother needs to see what weak looks like. What do you think, soft skin? Should we show her?" Ruth's hand moved. Later, people would argue about what they saw. The movement was too fast, too precise for an elderly human woman. One moment Kira was reaching for Lily. The next moment, Ruth had Kira's wrist in her grip. Not hard enough to hurt. But Kira could not move, could not pull away .4 arms, and she could not break free from one small human hand. The cafeteria went absolutely silent. Dran stepped forward. Ruth's other hand came up, 2 fingers extended toward his chest in a gesture that made the massive stone creature freeze in place. "That's close enough," Ruth said. Her voice had changed. The warm grandmother was gone. Something else looked out from those old human eyes. Something that had commanded armies. Something that had survived wars. Something that had been waiting very patiently for this exact moment. "Now then," Ruth said quietly, her words carrying across the silent room, "I think it's time we had a real conversation about what's been happening to my granddaughter." Ruth Ward stepped off the transport shuttle and into the gleaming corridors of Station Harmony 7. She looked exactly like what she was, a small, silver-haired human woman in her 70s. She wore simple clothes. She carried a small bag. She walked with a slight limp from an old injury. Nobody looked twice at her. That was a mistake. Lily met her at the arrival gate. The girl's smile was too bright. Her hug was too tight. Her eyes had shadows that Ruth had seen before on soldiers who had been in combat too long. "Grandma, you made it." "Of course I did, sweetheart." Ruth held her granddaughter at arm's length, studying her face. "Let me look at you." Lily laughed nervously. "I'm the same as always." No, she was not. Ruth saw the weight loss, the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes kept darting around, watching for threats. Ruth had commanded troops for 40 years. She knew fear when she saw it, but she said nothing. "Not yet. Show me around," Ruth said warmly. "I want to see everything." They walked through the station together. Lily talked too fast about her classes, her grades, her projects. She talked about everything except the other students. Ruth noticed that too. She noticed how Lily avoided certain corridors, how she tensed whenever a blue-skinned Villani walked past, how she kept close to the walls, making herself small. Ruth had trained soldiers who walked like that. Soldiers who had learned that the world was dangerous and their only defense was to disappear. "Is that a friend of yours?" Ruth asked, pointing at a small, golden-furred creature watching them from a distance. "That's Pip." Lily's smile became real for the first time. "He's my friend. My only friend, actually. I'd like to meet him." Pip approached nervously. His ears were flat against his head. His eyes kept watching the hallways. "Hello," he said quietly. "You must be Lily's grandmother. She talks about you all the time. Good things, I hope. The best things." Pip glanced at Lily. "She says you're the bravest person she knows." Ruth smiled, but her eyes were sharp. This small creature was afraid. Not of her, of something else. Something in this station. "Pip, would you join us for the tour? I'd love to hear about the school from a student's perspective." Pip looked at Lily. Lily nodded slightly. "Okay," Pip said. "I can show you the science labs. They're actually really nice." They walked together through the academy. Ruth asked simple questions. She complimented the facilities. She seemed like nothing more than a proud grandmother visiting her grandchild. But she was watching everything. She saw which teachers ignored Lily in the hallways. She saw which students whispered when they passed. She saw the scratches on Lily's desk that spelled out cruel words in Galactic Common. She saw a tall, blue-skinned Villani girl approaching with a smile that didn't reach her silver eyes. Lily, the Villani spread all four arms in a welcoming gesture. You must introduce me to your visitor. Lily went rigid. Her breathing changed. Her hands trembled slightly. Pip took a small step backward. Grandma, this is Kira. She's a classmate. How wonderful to meet you. Kira's voice dripped with sweetness. Lily talked about her family so often. You must be so proud of her, even though she struggles sometimes with our advanced coursework. I'm very proud of her, Ruth said calmly. Lily has always been exceptional. Of course, of course. Kira's smile flickered. Well, humans do try their best, don't they? It's so inspiring how hard they work just to keep up with the rest of us. Ruth looked at Kira for a long moment. Something shifted in her eyes. Something cold. But when she spoke, her voice remained warm. Yes, we do try our best. It's a human trait. We never give up, no matter how difficult things become. She paused. No matter what obstacles are put in our way. Kira's smile faltered. Something in Ruth's tone made her uncertain. Then she recovered. Well, I hope you enjoy your visit. Lily, I'll see you in class tomorrow. She walked away, her four arms swaying gracefully. Lily let out a breath she had been holding. She seems nice, Ruth said carefully. Lily said nothing. That night, Ruth sat with Lily in her small room. She told stories about Earth, about the ice ages that had killed so many other species, about the volcanoes and the earthquakes and the predators. We survive it all, Ruth said. Do you know why? Because we're strong. No, squeakfart. Because we protect each other. Ruth reached out and took Lily's hand. Humans don't survive alone. We survive together. We watch out for the weak. We stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Grandma, tell me what's wrong, Lily. Tell me what's really happening here. And finally, Lily did. She told her grandmother everything. The bullying, the hitting, the teachers who looked away, the loneliness, the fear. Ruth listened without interrupting. Her face showed nothing. But inside, something very old and very dangerous was waking up. When Lily finished, Ruth pulled her into a tight embrace. I'm so proud of you, Ruth whispered. You've been so brave, so strong. But you don't have to carry this alone anymore. What are you going to do? Ruth pulled back and looked into her granddaughter's eyes. Tomorrow, she said quietly, I want you to show me exactly where they hurt you. I want to see it myself. Lily did not understand the look in her grandmother's eyes, but somehow, for the first time in weeks, she felt safe. The silence in the cafeteria was absolute. Kira stared at the small human hand gripping her wrist. She pulled, then pulled harder, then used all four arms to try to break free. Nothing worked. Ruth Ward held her with the same effort most people use to hold a flower. Let me go. Kira's voice cracked. For the first time, there was fear in those silver eyes. Do you know who my family is? Do you know what they'll do to you? Ruth smiled. It was not a warm smile anymore. I know exactly who your family is. I also know that your father once refused a trade agreement with Earth because he thought humans were too primitive to deal with. That was 16 years ago. Ruth's grip tightened just slightly. I was the one who convinced him otherwise. He listened to me eventually. They all do. Murmurs spread through the watching crowd. Teachers had arrived at the edges of the cafeteria. Instructor Gavros pushed through, his mandibles clicking in outrage. What is the meaning of this? Release that student immediately. Ruth did not look at him. In a moment. First, I want everyone to hear something. She stood slowly, still holding Kira's wrist, and raised her voice so it carried across the entire room. My name is Ruth Ward. Commander Ruth Ward, retired. 40 years of service to Earth's Colonial Defense Force. I have fought in 3 wars. I have negotiated peace treaties with species that make Villani look like children. I have stood on battlefields that would break the minds of everyone in this room. The silence somehow got deeper. Humans, Ruth continued, are what the galaxy calls deathworlders. Our planet has gravity that crushes other species, weather that kills without warning, animals that hunt in packs, that use tools that fight to the death for territory. Every living thing on Earth evolved to survive constant violence. She looked around the room slowly. We learned to fight before we learned to speak. We learned to kill before we learned to write. By every measure, we should have destroyed ourselves 1,000 times over. Ruth finally released Kira's wrist. The girl stumbled backward, rubbing where those old fingers had held her. But we didn't destroy ourselves. Do you know why? Nobody answered. Because we also learned something else. We learned to hold back. We learned that strength without restraint is just destruction. We learned that the true measure of power is knowing when not to use it. She turned to look directly at Kira. My granddaughter has been bullied in this school for weeks. She has been hit. She has been threatened. She has been humiliated in front of her peers. And do you know what she did? Kira said nothing. Her face had gone pale blue. She built a weapon, a shock device that could have dropped you in seconds. She's brilliant at engineering, better than you, which I'm told is part of why you hate her so much. Ruth's voice was steady, but she didn't use it. She put away, because hurting you would have proven everything you said about humans being monsters. And Lily is not a monster. Ruth turned to Instructor Gavros. You saw what was happening. You chose to ignore it. You told my granddaughter that she needed to know her place. Ruth's voice went flat. I have recorded every incident. Dates, times, names. This information will be sent to the Galactic Education Council, the Station Security Board, and the Human Embassy within the hour. Gavros's mandibles went still. You can't prove. I can prove everything. I spent 40 years gathering intelligence on hostile forces. You think I can't document a few months of school bullying? Ruth smiled coldly. Your career is over. Accept that now, and you might salvage some dignity. She turned back to the watching students. Let me be very clear about something. Humans don't fight back against bullies because we're weak. We don't fight back because we know what would happen if we did. We come from a world where everything is a weapon. We could break you, all of you, without even trying. Her eyes moved across the crowd, landing briefly on each student who had laughed at Lily, each teacher who had looked away. We choose not to. We choose restraint. We choose mercy. And if you mistake that mercy for weakness, if you use it as permission to hurt those under our protection, Ruth's voice dropped to almost a whisper, but somehow it filled the entire room. Then you will discover what happens when a deathworlder stops holding back. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Ruth turned to Lily, and her entire demeanor changed. The warmth returned. The loving grandmother came back. Sweetheart, shall we finish our lunch somewhere quieter? Lily stood on shaking legs. Tears were running down her face, but she was smiling. Yes, Grandma. They walked toward the exit together. Pip hurried after them, his tail wagging for the first time in months. As they passed Kira, Ruth stopped. The Villani girl flinched, but Ruth just looked at her with something almost like sadness. You're angry because you're hurting, Ruth said quietly. I can see it. Whatever made you this way, it doesn't excuse what you did, but it does explain it. She paused. You have a choice now. You can keep being cruel, or you can learn to be better. I hope you choose well. Then she walked away, leaving Kira standing alone in the silent cafeteria. Nobody said a word. Everything had changed. 3 months had passed since Grandmother Ruth entered that cafeteria and changed everything. Lily barely recognized the academy anymore. Instructor Gavros was gone. He had been reassigned to a remote mining station where he would teach nobody. The teachers who had looked away received formal warnings. Some had retired in shame. New instructors arrived. Teachers who actually cared. Teachers who watched for cruelty instead of ignoring it. The biggest change, though, was Kira. After that day in the cafeteria, Kira had disappeared for 2 weeks. When she returned, something in her was different. Quieter. The cruel smile was gone. She had started seeing a counselor. She had started community service, helping younger students with their studies. She had started, slowly and painfully, to become someone new. Today, Lily found her sitting alone in the engineering lab. Is this seat taken? Lily asked. Kira looked up, startled. Her silver eyes were red, as if she had been crying. You don't have to talk to me. I know what I did to you. I know it was unforgivable. Lily sat down anyway. My grandmother told me something before she left. She said that the hardest thing in a universe isn't winning a fight. It's choosing not to fight when you easily could. Kira looked away. I'm not like your grandmother. I'm not strong like that. Neither am I. Lily smiled slightly. But we can learn. That's what humans do. We're not the strongest species. We're not the smartest. But we learn. We adapt. We get better. Why are you being nice to me? After everything. Because someone has to break the cycle. Lily shrugged. You were cruel to me because someone was cruel to you. I could be cruel back, and then you'd be cruel to someone else, and it would never stop. Or I could try something different. Kira was silent for a long moment. Then she said, my parents. They never said they were proud of me. No matter what I did. No matter how perfect I was. I am sorry. Why? It's not your fault. I know. I am sorry anyway. Lily paused. My grandmother said that real strength is admitting when you're wrong. You admitted it. You're trying to change. That's more than most people ever do. For the first time since Lily had known her, Kira smiled. A real smile. Small and uncertain, but real. Thank you, Kira whispered. Don't thank me yet. I expect you to help me with the advanced equations. You're still better at theoretical calculations than I am. Kira actually laughed. It was a strange sound. A good sound. Across the room, Pip watched them with wide eyes. His tail wagged slowly. Later that week, the Academy announced a new program. Self-defense classes for all students, taught by a rotating group of instructors from different species. Lily was one of the teachers. She stood in front of a mixed group of students, some huge, some tiny, some floating in gravity bubbles. They watched her nervously. The first rule of self-defense, Lily said, is knowing when not to fight. The second rule is protecting those who can't protect themselves. The third rule is never becoming the monster you're fighting against. She showed them basic moves. Escape technique. Ways to call for help. Nothing designed to hurt. Everything designed to survive and protect. After class, Dran approached her. The massive rock creature looked embarrassed. I wanted to apologize, he rumbled. I followed Kira because I was scared of her. That's not an excuse. I should have been better. Thank you for saying that. Lily looked up at him. Want to help me teach next week? You could show the smaller students how to handle someone your size. Dran blinked his stone eyes. You would trust me with that? People can change. You prove that. She smiled. Besides, Pip already volunteered, and I need someone who can lift the heavy mats. Dran made a sound like boulders grinding together. It took Lily a moment to realize he was laughing. The day before Ruth's visit ended, she gave Lily something that IT was a small medal, tarnished with age. A simple design showing Earth surrounded by stars. What is this? Lily asked. My first service medal. I earned it for protecting a group of civilians during a raid. I wasn't strong that day. I wasn't brave. I was terrified. Ruth closed Lily's fingers around the medal. But I did it anyway. That's what courage is. Not the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing while you're scared. Lily hugged her grandmother tightly. I'm proud of you, Ruth whispered. Not because you survived. Because you survived without becoming cruel. That's the hardest battle, and you already won it. Months later, a transport ship docked at Station Harmony 7. A new student stepped off, small and human, looking around with terrified eyes. She was surrounded by aliens. Everything was strange. Everything was overwhelming. She almost started crying. Then someone approached her. A human girl with kind eyes. A small golden Finari bouncing beside her. Behind them, a tall blue Villani waved awkwardly but warmly. Welcome to Harmony 7, Lily said. I'm Lily. This is Pip, and that's Kira. I know it's scary. I was scared too when I first got here. The new girl sniffed. Does it get better? Lily smiled. It was the smile of someone who had walked through fire and come out the other side. It gets better, she said. We look after each other here. That's what humans do. She held out her hand. After a moment, the new girl took it, and somewhere across the galaxy, in a small house on Earth, Ruth Ward put down her cup of tea and smiled. Her granddaughter had learned the lesson. True strength was not about fighting. It was about protecting. It was about healing. It was about hope.